we wanted to dive in because we got introduced to you through Lanescape, and I know you have a bunch of other things on the go as well that we can kind of talk about. But can you tell us a little bit about, how did this journey with Lanescape begin, and what have you been through with Lanescape? Can you map this out for us?
Yeah, Lanescape began as a passion project between myself and originally my two partners, Alex Sharp and Andrew Sabara. The three of us saw what was happening in Vancouver with their laneway policy. And in 2014, we got a one-off laneway suite approved, just going through committee of adjustment, and it was expensive and it took forever, and you had to be a unique expert to get this kind of housing built in the city. But other cities in Canada were already doing it. So we thought, well, this is stupid. We should have an as-of-right policy that allows homeowners to just go apply for a permit and get one of these if they live on a laneway.
What was so on that first one, before we go further, what was the pushback? Like, why didn't Toronto at that point have laneway as like an approved kind of housing opportunity?
Toronto is really lucky in that there's more people trying to do things than they need people to do things. So that means that just inherently our bylaws are behind current demand and, current building forms. So they're just old, and there's not a lot of, or there wasn't a lot of encouraging change coming from City Hall. That has actually shifted quite a lot in the last few years. But just at the time, they had single family housing policy, and that was it. And we saw a way to crack into that and take what Vancouver and Ottawa and a few other cities were doing and bring it to Toronto. So we got some councillors on board who believed in it as well. And Evergreen was sort of another partner who helped us with the policy and the public outreach. And 4 short years later, we got an as-of-right bylaw implemented that allowed anyone to build one.
How long ago was Vancouver doing this type of stuff?
Around 2008 was when their policy went into effect.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, we were 10 years behind them.
And so did you guys help write the policy that got implemented here in Toronto?
Essentially, our group, like Evergreen and ourselves, wrote a draft policy. That came out of quite a lot of public outreach. Like, we had public meetings and surveys and the like. So it was really a grassroots, crowdsourced vision of what a bylaw could be. But then city planning took that and refined it to make it the bylaw we work with today.
And so what are the bases of this bylaw? What can people do? What kind of property do you have to be able to do something?
Well, with a laneway suite, you just have to be on a public laneway. So there are about over 40,000 properties in Toronto that are on laneways. And that's pretty much it. Then your site dimensions dictate how big it can be. Very recently, they've also approved what they're calling garden suites, which are, if you're not on a laneway, you can put a detached home in your backyard. Same thing, it's fully as of right. You have to follow the prescriptive bylaw. If you have a big backyard, you're going to have an easier time doing it than if you're on a tight lot. But now anyone in Toronto can build a second home in their backyard.
I think the province is just announcing yesterday and today, I guess, the details of, I think they're mandating that across the province now, 3 units as of right. I don't know all the details, so I don't want to go too deep into it. Maybe you do, but I haven't looked at all the details around it. I know officially, I think the square footage can't change, and the facade of the house can't change, and that type of thing. So I don't know.
Did they say anything about parking?
Yeah, I think around parking, it was that the municipality can't demand more than 1 spot per unit, right? But some places will already have different rules. Like, I'm sure Toronto probably doesn't have that rule because a lot of houses already don't have parking, right?
Yeah, Toronto's unique. Like, we already had most of our neighborhoods allowed for triplexes, 4plexes, 6plexes, even apartment buildings was encoded into our bylaws. That wasn't quite as true in the periphery, like Scarborough, North York, and Etobicoke, but this policy will allow anywhere to have a triplex now, essentially, which is fantastic news.
So what have been...
From what you know, when you're saying a triplex, you mean a triplex within the existing structure, not taking down, because if it's a small home that's there, an old home, it's not taking that down and building like a 3-story kind of, small triplex building type structure. Is that correct?
I think that's right. The details aren't finalized yet. Okay. And with any of these policies, there's always details. Like, there's things to get tripped up on. So I guess I'm going to stay in business, even though triplexes will be everywhere now.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
You're going to stay in business.
Yeah.
Toronto's going to need your services for a long time. So what are some of the challenges when someone is doing a laneway housing? Is it like sewage? Like, what are some of the things that you're like, oh, damn, this is going to be a harder project than we initially imagined? Is it getting some of the sewage lines connected to the street? Because the laneway has no sewage lines, correct?
Not talking about water or electrical. You're just right down to the shit right away.
Yeah, because when we built out this office, what is right under my seat here is the sewage line from the washrooms that goes over there. Because when we built this out the way it is, so I literally sit on where they cut the concrete in this office.
A river of
the
crap.
Sewage line from the 3 washrooms that we have over here run right under here. There's too much information for you.
I'm good to know that wasn't you I was smelling.
No, yeah, that's just a feature of the office. But what are some of the? Is it that kind of thing? Because I would imagine building the structure itself, not too complicated, correct?
So, I mean, this is one of the things about laneway and garden suites where it's expensive, it's hard, there are all these pitfalls, but it's also really cheap and really easy. You just have to remember you're building a house. To get to the root of the question, all services come to your lot wherever they come to currently. Usually your sewer, your water, gas and electric come to the front lot line.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it's up to the landlord to take it to the house, into other units in the house, or to the laneway suite. So that's all just servicing solutions you need to come up with on your site. But it doesn't require any unique applications with any of the utilities. It's just having a decent plumber and designer.
Okay, so most of the time it really is, can we dig an appropriate trench here to pull these to the back to get it to the laneway so we have electrical coming, sewage coming to the back?
That's right. And sometimes we need sewage ejectors and the like, but there's solutions for all these things.
What's that? That's like a pump to okay.
That's right, yeah. So if you don't have
sewage ejector,
Yeah.
is that what it's called?
yeah.
Oh my
So if you don't have gravity to take it to the sewer, there are pumping solutions for everything. And really these kinds of things aren't unique, at least in Toronto, because we're so used to building houses in tight spaces. Most contractors in the city are familiar.
They're familiar with that. Okay. And then what are some of the things that have surprised you? Like, what are some of the biggest laneway housing that you've seen, square footage wise, or?
So as of right, for a laneway suite, you can do 2,400 square feet, including your basement. So you can do 2 stories above grade plus a basement, 1,700 above grade. Like, we can do 6-bedroom laneway suites.
That's a nice,
fully as of right.
And you've done that?
We've done that. It's all dependent on lot dimensions. So only the big lots can accommodate that. But yeah, you can do that. No committee of adjustment, no development charges. Like, it's really a user-friendly policy, which was something that we were advocating for when we were coming up with the vision for it. This was something that frankly wouldn't appeal to big developers. This was going to be homeowners. It was going to be kind of first-time investors and people who aren't that seasoned that need to be able to do this in a cost-effective and time-efficient way. So it's really homeowner friendly.